This is one of my videos aimed at the people who think Lucy's guilty and like to cast judgment. I want you to think about your put yourself in her shoes, which is difficult to do. So let's think about you in your work environment, whether it be in an office or in a factory or driving, something to do with logistics, anything working with people, and think about, well, firstly, getting up and going into work, and sometimes things don't work out too well at work. You have good days and bad days at work, building, whatever it would be. In Lucy's specific working environment, it's extremely extreme, where she's working with the most vulnerable patients, which are preterm babies. So everything's going to be on the extreme side. But let's think about your working environment and the sorts of things that can and do go wrong in your workplace. So let's say you're driving, and the works car breaks down or something, and okay, it happened once a month, and then a couple of days later you're given another car or something else goes wrong, and then a few weeks later something else goes wrong, but not with your car, actually. With someone else, something goes wrong with someone else's car. Okay, people are having these problems with these works cars. I'm just giving an example here. I want you to think about anything that goes wrong in your work, and that might go wrong repeatedly for different people. And then at the end of the year, no one's pointing fingers at no one's saying it's your fault that the car broke down or something. Well, not at first. Or whether there's like some problem in finance, in the office, the sales figures are low. No one's saying, you're working hard and you're doing your bit, but the customers aren't coming in or something. I just want you to put yourself in that position where no one, it's not your fault whatever's going wrong at work. You're turning up on time, doing overtime even when you don't have to. The bosses are asking you, can you come in, and you're bending over backwards for them. But just imagine, and everyone's got them, there's a couple of people at work you don't like, snivelling little brown noses, or someone's done something wrong and they want to shift the blame, and they start pointing their fingers at you. You haven't done anything wrong, but they're blaming you for the low sales figures. They're blaming you for the cars breaking down, even though for the gearbox that went down on the fourth car, even though you weren't driving it. But you did turn up to work that day, yeah. There were people who called in sick but they're all right. They're off the hook. But you actually turned up to work. So they start they come up with these stupid little spreadsheets and go, you're always about. This happened with me actually once on my last work, sort of, where basically I would try and resolve all the problems myself, and I would only ever see the boss if the problem got a bit too bad and was outside of my remit of being able to solve it. And so inevitably every time I went to see the boss, it was something quite bad, because it's not something easy to solve. And after a while my boss said, "Here he comes, the harbinger of doom." But that's something different. So just remember, a lot of people use these words, coincidences. This is one of my pet peeves. But just remember, this is an actual fact that the Countess of Chester Hospital, this was the death rate. It was not a national outlier. So anything that went on was kind of expected that year for one of these companies to have a bad annual report. So imagine they start looking at you, and when I say it's not your fault, let's go back to the car analogy, but you try and, whatever your job is, try and use an analogy that will fit you. Like I say, the gearbox went or something, and the mechanic looked at the car and said, "Oh yeah, this has gone due to wear and tear." Obviously nothing to do with the way that you're driving it. And that analogy I'm giving is of the post-mortem exam of the baby. They were expecting it, but again, you need to try and convert it into whatever your job is. And when I say it was nothing to do with her, you've got the first instance. Okay, it happened when she was the allocated member of staff. So yeah, the car broke down, the truck broke down when you had it for an hour. Okay. The next one, someone else is driving. Sophie and Melanie are driving, but somehow you're roped into it, because even though you're driving somewhere else, you're driving a different truck. It's somehow your fault. Then a couple of weeks later, someone else's truck breaks down. Again, you're somewhere else, but it's your fault. The next one, yeah, your truck. Then exactly 1 month later, someone else's truck breaks down again, but apparently that's your fault, and so on. And I just want you to imagine what it is you would actually do in this situation. So a couple of guys at work have pointed the finger at you, and you end up getting suspended from work. You're obviously going to be outraged, but you can't actually do anything about it. Other than make what would you do? You would make a complaint, which is exactly what Lucy done. and her parents got involved with it, which is to be expected. If you've been mistreated at work unfairly because of what a couple of snivelling other people pointing their fingers at you without any evidence, saying that the sales figures drop is your fault when you're a good salesperson or whatever. And then the police get involved. Again, it's unlikely in your working environment because you're not dealing with when things go wrong in your working environment. It's just going to be money involved. But for people in the healthcare industry, it's different. But the police get involved. What are you actually going to do when the police come and they question you? Well, you might cooperate. And she cooperated, Lucy cooperated, answering the questions to her best ability about what went on, about her day's work. And then this happens, they have interview after interview, and then the police come and arrest you. What do you do? How are you supposed to act? All she done is answer the questions to the best of her ability. And I want you to think about all of the text messages and think everything that's got nothing to do with work, and the police getting hold of your personal text messages, arguments that you've had with your wife, your spouse, ex-girlfriend, people you don't like, and people analysing and going through with a fine-tooth comb anything that will hurt your character. I mean, as it happened, Lucy was fairly saintly, squeaky clean, but if it were mine, if it were yours, can you think of times that you've said anything, maybe even not politically correct, in a text message to someone, joking about something, joking about going commando? I mean, they've taken that. That's the extreme that we're talking about. Have you ever had any sort of text message to a friend looking at, and they've downloaded all of your internet history? What's on your internet search history? And all of that is used against you. What would you do? How are you supposed to feel? How are you supposed to act? How would you answer the questions? If you don't know, you don't know. If you get fed up, wouldn't you be annoyed with everything? Are you supposed to keep showing emotion after so many years? Just try and put yourself in their shoes before you judge about the way someone answers a question, as if that's got anything to do with anything. I mean, she's actually really lucky in the fact that she is so squeaky clean, and she didn't have any sort of imagine if she had an unpaid parking fine. Could you imagine that? Or if she'd done anything, some sort of petty theft, or was involved. Imagine if she was involved in an altercation at some point with someone and the police were called, and she had any sort of black mark against her name. Have you? I mean, surely you've got something in your closet that would completely rule out anyone looking at you in any other sort of light. Like I say, she's quite lucky in that she does have a nice, obviously does have a caring personality, but someone like me, I wouldn't stand a chance because I don't care about anyone. Like her Facebook search history she was searching for charities and things like that. Do you know what my Facebook search history would be? Jimmy Savile jokes. And I just want you to try and think about, what if it happened to you?